Treason is not the reason for the season. Episode 3, Articles of Confederation. In 1777, 1 year after signing the Declaration of Independence, the founders hammered out the Articles of Confederation. This was their first attempt at designing a government. At that time the founders feared another monarchy, so the Articles created an extremely weak federal government. Under the Articles of Confederation, state law overruled federal law. States could print their own money and conduct their own foreign diplomacy. The Articles made no mention of a right to bear arms. It mentioned no rights whatsoever. It did, however, mention that every state must maintain a militia and nor shall any body of forces be kept up, in times of peace, except such, deemed necessary for the defense of such state, but every state shall always keep up a well-regulated and disciplined militia, sufficiently armed and accoutered. Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederations directly state that militias are for the defense of state. The founders saw militias as a supplement to the army to be called upon to fight in wars to defend the state. They did not intend militias to be anonymous paramilitary groups designed to overthrow their own government. They saw militias as an extension of the army, organized by the state, commanded by the government. The Articles of Confederation were approved by the Continental Congress in 1777, and were ratified in 1781. The biggest immediate impact of the Articles of Confederation was that the federal government had no authority to collect taxes from the states. Because the federal government had no power to collect taxes, it paid for things by printing paper money, called the Continental. The problem with the Continental was that it was uncontrolled currency. When the federal government needed more money, they simply printed more Continentals. This led to hyperinflation. The Continental was introduced in 1777. By 1781, it was worth less than 1/100th its original value. Because the federal government under the Articles had no power to collect taxes, it was always hopelessly broke. Washington's army was always short on supplies. They froze in the winter. They were often short on food, uniforms, weapons, and ammunition. Soldiers were often not paid at all. And this continued beyond the Revolutionary War, which ended in 1783. This economic crash led directly into the next turning point in the history of the United States. But the important point here is clear: the Articles of Confederation show that militias were intended to be organized by the state, like a branch of the army, to defend the state. Militias were not intended to be private, anonymous, terrorist organizations intended to overthrow the state.